Peace and safety, peace and safety. This is Assassin Witch Weekend Narol Taya Ibn Lahad Sani Sabah, the Shadow Blade Assassin Witch Weekend. Today is my first introduction to how I work with the shadow current, also known as the dark moon, new moon phase, the night, the black night, and how I work with the lunar energies, the moon. This is just some of my personal witchcraft and my workings, and this is just being an instructional video for any of those who seek introspective or different opinions on how to work with the shadow current, the new moon, also referred to, and lunar energies and lunar current. I'll be referring to one of my grimoires, Blood and Bones by Kate Fuller, an amazing grimoire. I highly recommend. Referring to the shadow magic, black magic, and the dark moon energy, as well as the lunar moon energy. I'll be referring to this throughout the video, just as a basis to help recollect my thoughts and help explain to you. Alright, so peace and safety be upon you. I thank you for joining me, and may hopefully you can take a little bit of introspective and different ways to work with the lunar energy and the shadow current of the eternal black night and the energy of it. That's what I hope you can take away from this. So first, starting off with chapter 1, the dark moon current, as Kate Fuller sometimes calls it, is what we endure during any kind of ending in our lives. This happens in relationships and projects and careers, and we might find our way through difficult times, as we all do. Sometimes the dark moon current is gentle, and its ending feels unnatural and complete. And after every little synopsis, I'll do a little personal review of how I feel about it, to kind of try to just create a hypnosis and cultivation revelation about the chapter and help anyone understand. They might not have understood its meanings. Other times it can be a harsh crisis that brings your life crashing down. Relatable. Either way, it's often difficult and uncomfortable, as growth tends to be. Also relatable. Just as the earth, seasons, and moon rotate through the dark and follow the times they move forward, and just as the seed needs to germinate in the darkness underground in order to sprout, we humans must traverse the shadows our own way to become whole. Whereas much a part of this great cycle is every seed and star, and our experiences reflect this. I've heard it said that the dark moon is a time for rest and low magic work. Likewise, when you're going through emotional upheaval and hardship, it's best to put your wand away and wait it out. This seems strange to me, as these energies have so much to offer. I propose we welcome the dark moon current and welcome the mysteries and welcome the unknown. Let's stop fearing the uncertainty and instead embrace it. Once we have lived and learned the nature of darkness, we become wiser and more powerful than ever before. And that's what shadow work is all about. Just to elaborate more on that. So the dark moon current, also referred to as the new moon phase, is the energy of the shadows, the energy of the black. And the energy of the black is not something that should be feared. We invoke the energy of the shadows in all that we do. Through our bodies and our inside, we are the darkness, just as much as we are the light. Many of society has taught us to fear the black, fear the shadows, but it's ultimately not true, and we should embrace it, because without it, we often see ourselves unbalanced, and that is not good. We must maintain balance in our light side and our shadow side, and there's much to learn from both aspects. As Kate Fuller said, it's humans, when we traverse the shadows, we become whole, because usually we've been taught in society to only traverse the way of the light, but traversing the shadows, understanding our shadow side, is how we become balanced, how we become whole. And as she says, the dark moon is time for rest and low magic. I can see that, because it's such a transformational time. With death is nothing to fear. Death is a natural part of life, and death has many aspects. Death also, from death comes life, from life comes death. Like the snake Ouroboros, a snake eating its own tail, representing death resulting from life, and life resulting from death, in a cylindrical cycle. The dark moon current, the shadow current, It appears when we endure any kind of ending, any kind of death in our lives. You can also refer to that as. Even though it's hard, as Kate Froller says, to welcome the mysteries and the unknown, even for myself, it's when we embrace the unknown, embrace the mysteries of the shadows, we also find interesting revelations that about ourselves and about the world that we come to see. So I challenge you, my brothers and sisters, my Witch Weekends assassins, to embrace the unknown. Embrace those inner shadow parts of yourself that you've always wanted to share with the world, but you've always been afraid to, as well for yourself, for your inner soul. We should welcome the dark moon, welcome the shadows, the energy. Now we'll move on. So what is shadow work? Shadow work is a magical practice that corresponds with the dark moon current in our lives. Shadow work, in a term, is used to describe spiritual practice with our inner hidden selves. It refers to working through trauma ingrained by behaviors facing our demons, so to speak. So we all deal with different traumas and behaviors instilled to us from outside sources that we may have naturally not wanted to instill ourselves, but we still work to get past them, and then to push them aside from us so they do not become entirely who we are. It is generally focused on inward and involves confronting things, looking inward to yourself, not looking for external value, looking outward to try to help you, looking inward into the sin, the shadows, not looking outward to a sort of source or a sort of material value, looking inward. Everything that you want is what's from within. We're forced to take a more awakened approach. Embracing the shadow means stripping away the ego and really facing ourselves, even the uglier, weaker, undesirable parts. And that's hard to do for a lot of us, including myself, facing the parts we really don't want to, we're not too proud of, the undesirable parts we don't really want to show to the world. We talked about. But when we embrace those parts, and we let them, and we understand them, we grow to cultivate them, and it ends up helping us in a way. More so, it helps us understand our true nature of who we are. So it is completely necessary, my brothers and sisters, which Wiccans beseech to embrace those inner shadow parts of us that we hide from ourselves. The need to do shadow work is often brought about by the situations outside your control, or changes that throw you into chaos. Tumultuous relationships, death of loved ones, breakups, hitting rock bottom in your personal life, and loss are all things that you can leave no choice but to look inward and deal with what you find in there, as I've experienced some of those myself lately and all throughout my life. Shadow work is absolutely necessary in order to grow spiritually and live a full life. Often when you meet someone, which or not, who has done their shadow work, you will feel it. They are wise and resilient. They're empathetic and strong. There's something about them that says they have wisdom beyond their ordinary. They walk through the shadows and come out the other side. And walking through the shadows and coming out the other side is not easy, even as someone like me who invokes the eternal black night and the lunar energies. It's still beyond that. It's a part of myself, and even just invoking their energies is not giving me 100% clarity. It's a path. It takes time. It takes a lot of time, and everyone's time depends. Everyone's time is differently. How long you'll walk. You have to do the shadow work inside yourself. So don't be discouraged, depending on how long you feel you're in the shadows and trying to cultivate your shadow self and your internal self. Because for all of us, it takes a different amount of time. And it's good to be understanding of that in yourself. Things that go bump in the night. Venturing into the dark moon phase in life and facing the shadow self is much like entering a mysterious enchanted forest full of the unknown. There are some dangers that you must conquer to move forward. You may unearth qualities of yourself you You've been taught to deny aggression, fear, anger, and weakness. Sometimes discovering these things is a shock, like reaching under your bed and touching something cold and scaly. Society teaches us to shut these feelings out to the side, to hide the darkness we have inside of us, but this leads us to being unbalanced. And it makes it seem like these places, these energies have no place in magic, when it's the complete opposite. We shouldn't reject them. We should embrace them. This unbalance of rejecting our shadow side will lead to bigger problems. As Kate Fowler puts it, like ignoring a leaking ceiling until the whole roof collapses on your head. Would you ignore that? No. Just as you shouldn't ignore your internal feelings until it becomes too much to handle. Always understand yourself internally, look into yourself internally. What I've learned, one way to help with understanding who you are internally is meditation, and also just understanding and embracing the things that you always liked and loved, no matter how old you are, and just the things that call to you. That's all internal work and shadow work as well. When working on just some side aspects, when working with the dark moon, the new moon, the eternal black night, and the lunar energies, just stargazing at the night, lunar gazing at the moon helps you to really take in the lunar energy. When the moon is in crescent of Diana, you can see that the darkness of the moon is more prevalent, but the crescent is still showing of light. So that's a good time to work on more of the inner self, the darkness, the shadow workings, the dark current, but also invoking some of your light side as well. And that goes with any of the other phases. When the moon is in full moon of Selene, it's a good time to work on your outer workings, your external self. It's illuminating your outer self. When the moon is in the new moon of Hecate, of Lilith, when it's dark, it's good to work on your inner. It helps work on your inner self. And notice sometimes during these times that you may already be thinking about these things. During a new moon, you may be thinking about more of your internal side. When the full moon is full, you might be thinking more illuminating your external side. So keep that in mind whenever you're trying to work with the eternal black night and different phases of the moon. That's something I've definitely noticed. I've noticed now, as I really keep into contact with the moon in the night, I can really see how my thoughts and my energies change depending on whether it's a new moon, dark moon. I'm really focusing on the energies internally. When it's a new moon, on a full moon, I'm focusing on illuminating myself, focusing on my energies externally. Or when it's a crescent or waning moon, I'm having a little bit of both energies being invoked. So that's one way to cast your workings and work with the eternal black night and the new moon phase, and the other lunar phases of the moon. It's just to really work with them and let them illuminate either your external or internal, depending on the illumination of the moon. Having different oils as well of the night. I use lavender a lot. Can also be a good tribute and sacrifice to give to the lunar energies, to the eternal black night energies, as I invoke the goddess Lilith, Diana, Artemis, Selene, all goddesses of the night, of the moon, of the hunt of nature. I often like to give a tribute to them for asking for their guidance in my workings. So I'll give some night energy, sometimes lavender, or sometimes a night plant, a purple plant. Purple invokes a lot of energies of the night, as well as doing crystal work. Black obsidian, it's a good mineral to work with if you want to further your invocations and workings with the black night. White stones, different dark stones also you can also work with to evoke that energy and help you channel that energy. The white moon and the eternal black night. The dark moon energy comes into our lives in many forms. The faceless grim reaper, the fearsome hag, the grinning skeleton riding a black horse, The dark moon energy has many names. Working with the dark moon deity, working with any deity, is something that many new witches fear, including many people fear. But there's nothing to fear, my friends, my witch wickedness, my brothers and sisters. Just make sure you do research on the deity you wish to invoke and understand them. Be respectful to them and ask permission to work with them, as well as make sure to give tribute, whether it's through prayer, through material like I was saying with lavender, or through blood. Sometimes, and blood's not always, using your own blood, but sanguine of your spit, your saliva is still energy. That can be considered blood. Some sort of sacrifice to help them, to give thanks to them. It doesn't always have to be it doesn't have to be something outlandish. Just giving praise and giving worship to them as thanks as well. You can focus on the power of the dark moon, of the new moon, and this is the most simple way to begin, and something I prefer to myself as myself. I'll focus on just the power, and then taking the eternal black night energies, and taking the lunar night energies. And that's a good way to start on, my brothers and sisters. Some of the deities I work with during the dark moon and during my night path is Artemis, the huntress, Lilith, the night goddess, Selene, Diana, Nyx, Nox, Samael, Azazel, Lucifer, all beings of the shadows, the eternal black night. And when I refer to Lucifer, Lucifer gets a bad rep because a lot of people, the media has brainwashed people to think that Lucifer just means a daemon, when it really doesn't. Lucifer is just the light bearer, a star, a bearer of the light. And we all invoke the energies of the light of the star. Lucifer is no one to be afraid of. But Artemis, beautiful deity, the Morrigan, Hecate, who invokes the triple moon trinity. Those are just some deities I work with to invoke the night that you can start, and just to give you some deities to begin and look into if you want to consider working with the night and having a sort of guide and deity to help guide you and give reference. But the lunar cycles in the sky, really, it is good to really just pay attention to them. But sometimes just sit out at night and just give praise and worship and thanks to them, and they will really illuminate your way. And after you do that, make sure you hold and meditate and you see what energies and ideas come to you in those times. So a lot of those times that is God, and that is deity working with you to answer your questions or whatever you might be going through in the night. Whatever problems you might be going through to help you. Shadow work is absolutely necessary in order to grow spiritually and live a full life, which I agree with. We must look inside ourselves internally. How do we expect people to fulfill us externally if we haven't even fulfilled ourselves internally? It doesn't make any sense to do that. So I really let's say focus on looking inside yourself and seeing who you are and what aspects of yourself that you deny, and taking a look at those, because a lot of those aspects we deny are actually aspects that we really want to embrace but we're afraid to. So looking into those aspects of your internal work, your shadow self, will also help you connect to the dark current. But yes. Yesod, Zevyak, also deities of the night. Azazel, Beelzebub, Samael, Draculia, if you're in the vampiric deities, Draculia, Alucard. Those are also some of the deities I invoke to help me with my understanding of the shadow moon and of the dark night. The dark phase of the moon. Entering into the dark moon phase of life and facing yourself is much like entering a mysterious enchanted fortress. Yeah, it is. And facing the unknown is hard, it's uncomfortable. So it's understandable when a lot of us have fears of entering it, starting our workings with it. But once you get past those initial feelings, you'll find it becomes quite easier, and you really understand a lot about yourself when you really face those internal darker sides of yourself. And the darkness is nothing to fear. The darkness is just as much needed as the light. Society has tried to psychically brainwash people into thinking the darkness and the black is evil, when that is not true at all. You can use the light for evil just as much as you can use the darkness. Just as many people in society do nowadays, they mask themselves into light when really they use it for evil. But and that's just something to also ponder and think about, my brothers and sisters. The dark moon isn't just a 3-day phase that takes place in the sky. The dark moon phase symbolizes something larger than we experience in our lives, sometimes multiple times. As we move through transition and changes, the dark moon phase in our lives is the time to do what is known as shadow work and magic, looking inside ourselves, to our shadows, as we say, which we can say the shadow path, the eternal black night path. Our lives are constantly going through cycles, just like the moon. Like the waxing moon, we grow and learn. Like the full moon, we see our ideas and plans reach fruition. Like the waning moon, we experience loss. After the waning moon comes another moon phase, during which many people choose not to perform magic. The dark moon, lasting only 3 days, usually short. This is the time of the darkness between the end and the beginning. It's funny I say this, because right now we're going in the middle of a crescent moon. I personally love the crescent moon of Diana. Diana usually represents the crescent moon. Hecate usually represents the dark moon, as well as Lilith. And Selene usually represents the full moon, the light. But it makes sense. During this time, the crescent moon, I'm invoking more of the darkness moon energy during this recording, during this teaching of the dark moon, but I'm still talking about some of the light aspects of it, so you can see the correlations there. As we all know, the dark moon is full of mysteries when applied to the larger picture of our life patterns and cycles. The dark moon represents change, or more specifically, the space between when one thing ends and another begins. The gap between death and rebirth is one of life's greatest mysteries. For example, when trees and wildlife die in a forest, they decompose and become fertilizer for the earth in which new life grows. Without this death, new life couldn't exist. From life comes death, just as the front door or borders. This illustrates that while darkness and death mark an ending, they also contain a new beginning. With life comes death, with death comes life. Our lives and all our experiences mirror the cycles of the moon. While this doesn't always occur in sync with the actual moon phase in the sky, it's certainly observable and something to keep in mind. And it's funny, just today I seen a bird that had been decomposed, looking like an animal had eaten from it, but just as K. Fowler said, so with that death of that animal came life to another being, and so that life will be continued until it dies and continues. Just like ourselves, it's a beautiful cycle of life and death. The dark moon energy is no exception and can be felt like a current moving through our existence. Yeah, it is a current through our existence. We are just as much the shadows as we are the light. We invoke the shadows to rest, to transform. That's why we go to sleep at night, because we are reborn and we awaken from the night. We are reborn from the night into the day, into the light. We come back to life, and we die, then we come back to life. It's a beautiful occurrence, the dark moon. And it's not something that should be feared. I say, like the black energy, black witchcraft, it's not something to be feared. Nor is working with the goddesses of the black of the night. The crone of Morrigan, she's also a triple moon goddess. A lot of times you'll hear me refer to as a triple moon. The crone, the mother, and the maiden. It's referred to as Hecate, Diana. As the triple moon goddess being there's 3 different phases, 3 main phases: the new moon, the full moon, and the waning and crescent moon. The 3 stages, and it also represents encompassing the 3 stages of life through that. These phases and the goddesses and gods, they fall under each fit the moon cycles of waxing, full, and waning. The crone archetype holds the cauldron of death and rebirth. The cauldron represents the space between endings and beginnings. You see the revelations I've already made between those, and they keep coming up. Take note of that, my brothers and sisters, my witch Wiccans. The cauldron ends life, but also generates birth. In its most basic, mundane form, a cauldron takes place in animals, transform them into life-sustaining food for humans, and for all of life. In its most metaphysical, the cauldron takes away our souls at the end of our lives and renders them into our next incarnations. Such is the mythology of the crone, the keeper of the cauldron. She takes life away, and she gives life back. As Morrigan, Zion is represented in the 3 different phases, as Hecate, the crone, the maiden, and the mother. When winter comes, the light and warmth disappears into our cauldron, and she can turn them into spring. Our relationship ends and goes to the vastness. In this place, she presents opportunity and life change. When one thing ends, she always produces something new to take its place. The ever turning wheel of fortune of life, Ouroboros. She rolls over the cold season when fields are dormant, and trees shiver barren against the dark sky. She is the moment when the wolf kills the deer, the hunt of Artemis. She is disease, accidents, and killing. She is our own death and the death of everyone we know. She and all the deities she represents is that brute force and merciless attack. In artwork, they're often portrayed as strong and vicious, usually bearing weapons and wearing armor. Some carry grisly trophies of their conquest. Some examples when the gods and goddesses of war can be called upon are in court cases, beating a rival for a job, promotion, or recognition, winning their heart of your beloved, and even against a physical illness that you are wearing with. They can also be called upon for protection. And that would just be an introduction for today. As a summary, the shadow current, the new moon, is an energy of death, but with death comes renewal. Is energy of renewal and also protection. The lunar energies are of nature, of rebirth. The white full moon is of life. The eternal black night, the new moon, is of death. And both flow, and the waning and waxing moon intersect both energies. And both flow and reflect the energies of the night and of the moon, and reflect the energies of our life and death. These energies continue and will always continue. So I just wanted y'all to really take that as some of the main concepts to take from this. And it just it is nothing to fear as well. Dark moon energy is nothing to fear, to work with. Any kind of ending in our life, any kind of death, it's usually when we are invoking energies of the dark moon. And during those times, it is good of the new moon and of the darkness energies. And a lot of those times we are working internally, and they're all internal. Usually during those times, it's a lot of internal strife. Working with the dark moon and the lunar moon can help you understand those internal energies of what you're going through, and that strife, and how to overcome it, and how to just work more along with to embrace your true self, your internal self. Shadow work, as a lot of Witch Wiccans put it, which corresponds with the dark moon, with the eternal black night energy, working inside of yourself, internal energy. Spiritual practice of our hidden selves. The black represents hiddenness. So so it makes sense that working with the shadow current and your internal self, it's your hidden self, working with your hidden energy. And it also refers to working through trauma, ingrained behaviors, facing our demons, so to speak, facing our internal turmoils inside ourselves. And when we work with the shadow current, we strip away the ego. When we face ourselves, we face the ugly and weak, undesirable parts and the parts we like. We face all the parts of ourselves internally, and that is needed and is nothing to be feared. It is absolutely necessary to grow spiritually and internally. So just know that the eternal black night and the dark moon is just as necessary as working with the light. and working with the full moon lunar energy and the crescent moon energies. It also helps us illuminate who we are externally as well as internally. So thank you, and that'll be my part 1, working with the shadow moon current, the new moon, the lunar energies. Again, Kate Fuller of Blood and Bone, a beautiful shadow of the shadow magic and dark moon. Beautiful grimoire I've learned a lot from. You can find this on Amazon. And in part 2, and resulting, I'll keep giving y'all my perspectives on working with the lunar energy and the dark night and what's worked well with my workings. So I thank you for listening. I thank you for watching. May the dark moon of Lilith, Hecate, of Diana, Fatima, Selene bless you and help you work on your internal self, as well as the full moon of Selene and all the lunar eternal black night energies. I thank you for listening, helping me support my art and my craft and my woman in all that I do and my cause. I hope this could help you illuminate yourself and help you understand a little bit more about the eternal black night energies and working with the lunar energies. I thank you, and if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. It helps my channel grow and my cause grow. So also, please consider sharing this information to those that you love that want to get more into the craft, working with the dark moon and working with the new moon and the lunar energies and the night energies. So I thank you, and this is Witch Weekend Assassin Nerol Tayer. Hadisani Sabah Nox Lilith signing off for now, and I'll see y'all again on the next one. Thank you. Until next time, my Witch Weekend Assassins. May peace be upon you. Blessed be the night goddess. And may you have a beautiful night and a beautiful evening. Ciao.